What's up, rockers from all across the world? Welcome to a special interview with, and you already know him for his work in ministry, and now he's working on a solo project, Sin, and he just told me the right way to pronounce it. And it's, how do you want to say it for everyone else to know how you were born with it?
Well, I mean, I'm fine either way. The correct Spanish pronunciation of my last name is Quirin, but Quirin is fine.
So, and he was talking about how he got the nickname Sin Quirin, and I can understand. It's kind of like, you know, how Sinister Gates are been Soulful, now you got Sin Quirin.
People often think that people often think that my first name is like a stage name, and you know, my first name is Jose or something like that. But Sin, S-I-N, first three letters of my full first name. So my full first name is Sinue, S-I-N-H-U-E. But no one could pronounce that, you know, when I was a kid. So people just started calling me Sin, and it just kind of stuck and it fit.
So you don't even need a stage name. That is your stage name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's funny, you know, because sometimes in the past, throughout the years, because I'm endorsed by Schecter Guitars, I would call up to Schecter, and sometimes the receptionist would say, you know, oh, Mass was calling, and I'd say Sin, and they'd be like, Sin from Sinister Gates, or Sin? And I'm like, no, Sin. This is Sin. Not Sinister Gates.
Well, dude, happy Tuesday, man. We're both on the West Coast. We're getting some rainy weather and whatnot. I know you're getting your allergies, and mine are too.
Yeah, man. I apologize for sounding a little stuffy. I got allergies started acting up over the weekend, but I'm feeling good.
We're in that weird weather right now in California. Like, oh, hey, we're gonna have a nice day. Nah, we're gonna rain.
Exactly. That was this weekend. Yeah.
Well, dude, firstly, huge congratulations on your double debut single that came out this month, back on March 14th.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. We very excited about it. You know, had been working on this for a while, and I'm pleasantly surprised with all the press that we've been getting, and just all the positive feedback we've been getting from everyone. So I'm beyond excited, you know, about it.
And it's por los siglos, and
Los Siglos, yeah,
taking off also the name of your band that's called Siglos as well, taking on kind of your combination of names, correct?
Correct. That was it. And you know, to be honest with you, we didn't have a name for the project until we started working on this new the first single. And you know, once I read Pedro's lyrics, just the word Siglos just kind of stuck out to me, and I was like, man, you know, what do you think about naming the project? Loved the idea, and that's kind of how it came about, because we were literally in the studio tracking this, and still didn't have a name for the project. It was kind of like you know, the last thing that was on my mind. I was just kind of more focused on the music and getting that together, but it just kind of worked out perfectly with those lyrics.
And it's interesting also going on the lyrics is also everything's in Spanish. So the first single is in Spanish, and you don't, it's always an interesting thing when bands choose to go into more of a cultural aspect, you know, like Swedish death metal and stuff like that, or like New Zealand or heavy metal bands. But I love the death metal vibe to it. It's a Spanish death metal vibe.
Absolutely. You know, I've got to be honest, man. I came into the sort of death metal, black metal, doom metal thing a little late. And when I say a little late, I mean, I'm talking within like the past maybe 3 years or so, 3 to 5 years. We'd always played with bands, you know, in festivals in Europe, like, you know, bands like Behemoth or Cannibal Corpse, or you know, any of those types of bands, but I never really, for some reason, gave it a chance, and up until, I want to say 2017, 18, I remember playing Grass Pop festival in Belgium, and Behemoth was on the bill, and for the first time I actually like sat and watched them from the side of the stage, and I was just completely blown away.
The energy. It's
just
all about the
by their
energy.
overall, yeah, man, just the, I mean, not only the stage show, but just the sound, the overall power that they, just put across really hit me hard. And so from that point on, I was just really interested in that type of music. Now, fast forward to probably about a year and a half ago is when I started working on these songs, for myself. I was in the studio with Alex, with my, engineer producer, and I wrote the music to this song Por los Siglos. And I had a sort of death metal, black metal vocal in my head. And I remember mentioning that to Alex in the studio, and he said, well, I know this one guy, Pedro Sanchez, and he played me some of Pedro's music because he's in a band called Trastorno. And I said, yeah, this is what I'm hearing. So I reached out to Pedro and, told him about the idea. And I asked him if he'd be interested in coming down and helping me with this song. And that's kind of how this whole thing started. I think he did an amazing job. He did exactly what I was hearing in my head. And initially he said, well, do you want me to sing in English or Spanish? And I said, Spanish, man. I'm like, I really want to go down that road with this. I want to make it, in my opinion, very unique and special. And I don't know, there was just something about that really intrigued me. I'm fluent in Spanish. Spanish is my first language. I didn't start speaking English till I went to kindergarten. Pedro also fluent in Spanish. So I just thought, wow, what a cool sort of, thing we can have here with this sound, and making it in Spanish. So that's kind of how that whole thing came about.
Well, it's become within the last, I would say, 5 years, maybe even decade, more cultural bands have been blowing up
Yeah,
throughout the world. Alien
right.
Weaponry over in, I believe they're New
Yep,
Zealand and stuff like that.
yep.
Behemoth, Swedish Death Metal, these bands that are taking
Sure,
on their cultural language, it's
sure.
become
I
huge.
mean, and even bands like Rammstein, or bands that
Yeah,
sing in I think that I don't know, man. There's something about music that is just so universal that it lends itself to crossing over all these cultural sort of boundaries, if you will.
mm,
And I think people dig it, man. That's why we also included the lyrics. We want people to kind of at least be able to try to read along and sing along to whatever we're singing. But yeah, man.
no, this would be a good one to bring up as we're on this cultural aspect for it. Why do you think rock and metal has had such a big bond and loving heart with the Latin American community? Like, it's from the get-go, from when its formation, is the festivals in Mexico, Brazil, anything, it's just huge.
I don't. I mean, I think it's just a connection. At least for me, this is how I was exposed to it and kind of grew up with it. My dad was a singer in a band in Mexico in the '60s, and at the time they were doing sort of it was original music, but they were doing kind of like a sort of Spanish version of, say, the Beatles or the Kinks or the Animals, stuff like that. So it was rock sort of based. I think that as far as Mexico goes, they caught on to that real quick. And it's sort of always been there, that sort of bond between rock and then what turned into metal and stuff like that, between the Latin community and the States. So I don't know why, but I think it's been there since the inception, and since the very start. So I'm glad that it is. And the times that I've been down to either Brazil, we've done like Rock in Rio, and we played in Chile and Argentina. I mean, the fans are there, and I think that they're more receptive to things because probably because they don't get as many bands down there as, say, we do here in the States. So when bands do travel down there, man, it's like it's an explosion down there. They're waiting
Yeah.
for you at the airport. They're waiting for you at the venues, at the hotels. I mean, and it's a really cool feeling to have, you know, that to feel so welcomed, and just to see how rabid they are to hear this music and to watch you play. So it's a pretty amazing thing.
It's like same thing with Europe. You look at the European
Yeah,
festivals and stuff
absolutely.
like that. American bands don't always go out there, but when they do go out there, it's arms wide open and just
Absolutely.
thousands and thousands stadium filled. You're looking at Download Festival, all of that.
All those. And I got to say, you know, not trying to sound negative here on the States, but fans in Europe and or South America or others, these other places, seem to stick around more for and stay loyal more to bands for longer periods of time. At least that's what I've seen. In the States, it kind of seems more like, you know, whatever happens to be hot or whatever happens to be, you know, sort of flavor of the month. And then kind of people just kind of move on. And I don't know if it's just because there's just so much stuff here, that the attention span isn't necessarily there. But in South America, you know, or in Europe, I mean, you've got bands that take a band like Saxon, you know, they'll do huge festivals or huge venues out in Europe. They'll come here and they'll play like a mid-level, you know, like a small theater, if that, or something, you know. So I think that the bands or that fans stick around and are way more loyal in these other places, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy that when you think about it, it does, that's how it is. I mean, you look at like a lot of musicians end up staying culturally somewhere
Yep,
else. Like Marty Freeman,
sure.
he's always in Japan, and
Absolutely.
that's where he has such a huge demographic there. So it's,
Yeah.
and their fans are loyal.
I mean, you're able to like maintain a career in these places, to whereas out here in the States, it's a lot tougher.
Do you think that even with the rise of social media, has that made it even more difficult with the distractions of so much other stuff going on for people to focus on, say, their favorite artists?
Sure. I also think that it's hurt in many ways. I mean, you know, it's like you're either gonna, yeah, man, turn into a dinosaur if you don't kind of like go along with these new, you know, things, or I just don't know, man. I'm very old school, and I'm not like on. I don't do the TikTok thing or like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like a little more old school. I'm just old, man. I don't know. There's no other way to describe it other than I'm just old. In a way, I mean, in a way, you know, it's helped in that you're now able to be exposed all over the world, you know, literally from your bedroom. But at the same time, that also, I think, takes away from the excitement of seeing a band or hearing a band. You
Yeah.
know, I still come from the generation of going to the record store and getting the record and just like looking at the actual artwork and reading everything on that vinyl. And you know, just if a band was coming into town, it was a huge thing. Now, I mean, it's available everywhere. You literally just, you know, a few clicks and it's on your computer or your phone or
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean, you know, it has its pros and cons, man.
I guess that's a good way segue into like as an evolution of a musician, you know, growing up, getting your first guitar, buying it, playing it, jamming it in your room, not posting anything, only playing for your friends, starting a band, doing cover songs. Now you have Instagram Reels, TikTok, and
Yeah.
thousands of people doing songs to do it. Do you think this has increased musicianship or decreased it?
Um, I I think both in a weird way. I mean, now it's like, you know, you see these little kids that are just shredding on the guitar when,
Right,
you
you're
know,
like,
and I'm just like,
damn.
man, these little kids are just blowing me out of the water, you know, which is great, man. Listen, it's great. If I highly encourage everyone to pick up an instrument, you know, even if you're not going to try to go pro. I just think it's an important thing, and it's a good tool, and I think it's just good for your soul, you know, just to learn how to play an instrument. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it in the sense that, hey, I just saw this online and now I want to sort of pick it up and do it, then that's awesome. Then I guess it's a good thing. You know, what I would hate is for it to just be, I guess, so exposed and so out there that it would uh, make someone not want to do something because they're just seeing it so much, and maybe get discouraged because of, you know, oh, I'm never going to get to that level or blah blah blah. Like, no, I hope that people kind of take the positivity side of it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again, like you said, you're watching these 5-year-old kid, and it was like, dude, what the heck? I didn't start playing guitar till I'm 11. Like,
Exactly.
where the heck
Yeah,
where'd you get
man.
this time?
Yeah, man. I was like, you know, I'm playing Smoke on the Walls. Kids are 5 and they're like, you know, they're doing like these classical pieces, and I'm like, what the hell happened to me, man?
But again, pros and cons, and we love and hate it, but it's almost like a necessity now as a
Yeah,
musician for a
it
band to
is.
promote
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Um, and then now circling back into this first signal, you had it mastered and produced by Alex Crocioni, correct?
correct. Yes, my very good friend Alex, who I've been working with for, geez, almost 2 years, maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years. And we have, I mean, I have probably maybe a dozen or so other songs um, ready to go musically. So the whole idea initially was for me to sort of do, I guess, for lack of a better term, a solo album and just have different vocalists on it.
But you've seen that a lot
That
right
was
now.
sort of, yeah, that was just the initial idea. But once I hooked up with Pedro and we started doing this, I kind of just was sort of shifted gears and was like, okay, shit, I really want to pursue this, and I really want to turn this into a project. So now my focus has been going towards that. So we have more songs that I'm actually in the studio tonight with Pedro, and we're gonna try to at least get an EP, if not a full length album out before the end of the year, hopefully by the summer. But
And
that's
Alex is
the
going to be handling all that as well for producing.
yes, Alex will be doing all of the engineering, all the production, producing, mastering. You know, he's doing all of that is being done with Alex. I love what he does. He and I work very well together. Uh, you know, and the results, in my opinion, sound exactly what I'm hearing in my head. So yeah, it'll all be done with Alex.
Which is it is amazing. On this first signal that you guys put out, I was blown away. And as soon as Raquel, your PR agent, sent it to me, and I made that instant connection. Like, dang, this is Latin American death metal, black metal.
Awesome. Awesome, man. That is great to hear, and that's what I am hoping for. And it's kind of cool to get getting a lot of like messages and emails from you know, Latinos out there saying, dude, we've been waiting for shit like this. This is awesome. I'm so happy it's in Spanish, and this is what we're, you know. So it's really cool, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, you know, yeah, this is what I sort of set out to do, and it looks like it's happening. So
Now, with Pedro on vocals, who else are you guys having? Are you tracking bass yourself, or are you having someone else come in?
yeah. Yeah, so in the studio right now, I mean, because I've amassed all these songs, I've done all the guitars, I've done the bass, all the keyboards. You know, Alex has also added some keyboards, and then the drum program. The way I've been doing it is, I write the songs at home and I demo them, and then I take them to Alex, and then we kind of like strip things apart and redo things. So I'll do the initial drum programming, and then Alex will do his drum programming on it and make it sound, you know, really good. But yeah, musically, all the stuff I've been doing myself. And like I said, Alex has added, you know, either keyboards or you know, the drum programming and what have you. And then Pedro doing vocals. And I think that's how we'll probably continue musically in the studio, just because it seems to be working. and it's just easier for me right now, just to be able to get in there myself and just knock these things out. Sometimes it's tougher because other guys are in other bands, and sometimes guys don't necessarily live in the area.
Yeah.
But you never know. I might have a guy come down and add a guitar thing or add a bass thing or something like that. It's not off the table, but for the most part, it'll be Pedro and I.
Well, at least we're in Southern California, and there's a plethora of great musicians in the area.
Oh yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton of guys here, and there's a handful of guys I have in mind already that I'd like to, hopefully either, if not bring into the studio, if and when it gets to a live thing, that I'd love them to have them be a part of it.
And it's, as we've kind of circled around this new, age of technology, social media and stuff like that. And you brought up how you've done bass yourself and doing the drums and then bring it to Alex to change up. It's kind of like also technology's made everyone to be a little bit more of a complete musician and understanding how to structure a song without having the full band just yet.
Absolutely. I was using my old 4-track, my old Tascam 4-track for many years. I did a lot of the very first Ministry songs that I wrote back in like 2005 or 4 or something like that, are still on my Tascam 4-track recorder. And so I'm old school in that sense. I always tried to write in all the projects that I was in. So it was something that I thankfully developed at an early age, was trying to write. I wasn't necessarily trying to, be the world's fastest guitar player or, a total shredder or anything like that. I was really interested in wanting to write good songs. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah, I mean, I had to learn how to, engineer a little myself at home, and I have a little home studio, and it's definitely enough to get me by. And present my song, present the demo, and say, look, this is it. So in that sense, yeah, it's kind of forced me to. Not saying that I necessarily like it, because I am not an engineer in any way, man. I like to just, I want to write, and oftentimes, it takes me a while, and then I gotta plug this in and do this. You didn't hit this button, so it's not doing this, and stuff like that. But slowly
Enough to
but
get
slowly,
your vision, and then Alex,
yeah,
like, I got you.
exactly. And that's the thing. That's the thing with Alex, is we communicate so well in the studio. Through my mumble jumble, he's somehow able to understand what I'm trying to convey musically. And that's rare. It doesn't always happen, man. Sometimes it's a struggle in the studio if you're just not on the same sort of wavelength with your engineer producer. So I'm thankful for that we just work quickly and efficiently in the studio.
And so what's next in the pipeline for schedule wise? You said you want to potentially do an EP coming out, or even full length album. Is there gonna be another single planning
Oh
on
yeah,
the schedule?
definitely. I mean, tonight we'll be tracking vocals for song number 3. But we have, like, I have the music, like I said, of like 12 tracks already. It's just the vocals that we're lining up right now. There will definitely be another single and another video. That's the next thing on the horizon, is to release song number 2 and video number 2. But the goal is for an EP and or an album, but at the very least an EP.
Do you think EPs are gonna be replacing albums?
I think, man, a lot of bands, I think even EPs are going to be replaced, to be honest with you. Because like a lot of bands now are just releasing singles.
Yeah.
They're just, I see a ton of like major label bands that are just saying, we're just going to release like a single a month.
Yeah.
And that might be the new format. That might be the new way. So, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. It's like it seems to be sort of a growing trend, and that might be the way to go.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. It's pros and cons, keeping the band relevant, fresh, and
Yep.
people looking towards the music. but then it's also kind of feeding into a shorter attention span of what people are trying
Absolutely, it is.
to listen to. So
It is. I mean, what I would like, if it were up to me, man, I would release a couple singles, but ultimately still have a product, something, a tangible product that you can actually hold
yeah,
in your hand. I'd love to have an album, like an actual LP of this material. So even if we were to release singles up until that point, we will still at the end release some kind of physical, you know, tangible thing that people can actually get and hold in their hands. So
yeah, it's CDs have obviously gone to the left side with
yeah,
nothing having a CD player in your car or whatnot, and vinyl's taking the resurgence of
yeah,
something physical for a hard copy. And
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
tapes as well. People have been doing tapes again.
Yeah, people have been doing cassettes and stuff. Man. I still have my 8 tracks, man. I still had a car that still played 8 tracks up until a few months ago.
I still have some of my OG tracks. I still have my original vinyls, original
Yep,
tapes back in the day. I'm gonna
same
keep my
here.
heart to them, but because I grew up with
Yeah, exactly.
them.
Yeah, I'll never get rid of that stuff, man. I have a vinyl player at home. I still play my LPs and stuff, so I'll never get rid of that stuff.
It's everything's cyclical. It's kind of things like
Yeah,
people, and again, it's also
yeah,
kind of like more extra merchandise for fans to buy.
sure. Yeah, I agree.
Well, to kind of wrap things up and just throw in a little couple fun questions so people to know you more. As a guitar
Sure.
player, what do you remember your first riff ever being? First riff you got ever learned how to play?
The first riff I ever learned how to play was Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix.
Hey,
I mean, because I started playing the guitar when I was 10. I took basic guitar lessons just to learn how to read and all that stuff. And within a few months, I was starting to pick things up. And the first thing that I actually picked up was Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. So that's the first sort of song that I taught myself and actually taught myself by ear, like all the way through. And yeah, I was probably like 10, going on 11 or something like that.
do you remember your first rig you had and your first guitar, first amp setup, all that?
Dude, I'm actually staring right now behind the computer. I would pull it out, but it's under a bunch of stuff. I still have my very first electric guitar, which was a Del Rey, which was bought at the swap meet here in Southern California at the La Mirada swap meet. And it was that electric guitar and a little practice amplifier. And my dad bought it for like, I don't know, like $30 or something, the guitar and the amp. So yeah, I don't have that little practice amp anymore, but I held on to that first electric guitar. The action was like, well, it was like 4 inches off the neck string, but I didn't know any better. Just a kid, I didn't know. I thought all guitars were like that. So my hand actually got really strong
Wrong.
really quickly. Yeah. So, and then when the next electric guitar I got, it was night and day difference, was a 1980 Gibson Les Paul Custom Silver Burst,
No, that's a huge
which
upgrade.
my parents bought for me. Dude, huge. I mean, that guitar is my pride and joy. Because my parents saw that I was serious about playing the guitar.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for Christmas, that next Christmas, they bought me that guitar. And I was just like, holy shit, like this is so easy to play. I mean, the action was perfect. And it was just like, I was just playing.
What do you mean my fingers don't have to feel sore the whole time?
Yeah, exactly, man. It was like I was practically standing on the strings on my other guitar, just because the action was so high. So yeah, man. But it was cool. I mean, I'm glad I kind of learned that way. And like I said, it did kind of make my hand strong,
Torture game. That's how we got to learn nowadays. Some kids get the brand new thing and like, well, you got to learn the old way. You got to get that pain. Get your
Exactly. Yeah, I agree, man. Totally.
Well, dude, man, it was an absolute pleasure. And looking
Thank you.
forward for the rest of the music to come out. And please, when this goes live, we'll have links to everything going on. Nothing on social media yet. It's all going to be on YouTube for them and whatnot when they're posting and whatnot, which is fine because you can see the amazing music video that who directed that music video.
Man, that was done by Elisa Marie at EM Productions. Hunter Chapman directed it. Mary Dixon was one of the writers, producers. Please check them out. EM Agency and Productions. They do amazing videos. They're always great. They've done 2 videos for me now, but this second one, this newest, latest one, I've knocked it out of the park. I had a vision for the way I wanted the video to look, and they just nailed it. They did an amazing job. We shot that out here in Southern California, over by the Salton Sea,
Yeah.
by Bombay Beach, in that area. It's just, I'm so proud of the video. I love that it's in black and white. I think it sets a certain mood. But yeah, EM Agency Productions, amazing film video people.
Well, it sounds like everything you're visioning for the Siglos project is actually coming to vision, like to now, from recording to musically to the music video, everything is perfectly falling in place.
It really is, man. And again, I couldn't be happier. It feels so good just to be surrounded by such positivity and such amazing people, and the people that are around me right now doing, all the stuff with me, just with me 100%. And it feels really good. And I'm very thankful, and I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed.
Man, I look forward to hearing what's coming next. And I know their fans are, and I know everyone's going to be cheering, hearing it, throwing the horns up. So I'm stoked to hear it as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate your time. I had a blast talking with you. I'm sure we'll talk again, hopefully for the next video, the next thing that comes out.
And absolutely, when it's Southern California, everyone knows everyone through someone. I'm sure we'll run into each other at one point or another.
Totally. Exactly. Right on.
Well, thank you for everyone for watching, and always remember to keep your horns up.